I counted 7 mistakes, 7 deadly sins of D&D worldbuilding most dungeon masters commit without realizing it kills their campaigns before they even start. I've been playing for over 20 years and made all of them along my DMing journey. So in today's video, I'm showing you what they are and how to fix them. So tell me, does this sound familiar? You arrive at the Shadowlands frontier and see a massive tower in the distance, covered in strange runes, pulsing with an eerie light. Oh, that's totally mysterious. I want to check those runes out. The first deadly sin seems like good world building until you watch it kill player curiosity. You've spent countless hours crafting detailed explanations for every element in your world. But here's what actually happens. Come on, we want to examine these runes closer. Right, so Gerok, your guide, explains.
It was built 300 years ago by the wizard Malthorn using necromantic rituals. The runes are from the abyssal language and channel energy from the negative plane to power his undead experiments. The pulsing light indicates...
Oh, so it's a lich tower. Got it. Okay, so what else is around here? See how quickly the excitement died? When you provide complete explanations immediately, you eliminate the sense of mystery that drives curiosity. Your world becomes predictable rather than intriguing. But what if we handled this differently? I want to study these markings. Hey, guide, what do you know about the tower? The runes don't match anything in your books.
Local scholars have been arguing about this thing for decades.
Notice the difference? Instead of complete answers, we're giving partial information that creates more question. It's a lot easier for the players to stay engaged because there's still mystery to uncover.
There are 3 different theories about when it was built. Nobody can read the symbols, and the light doesn't seem to follow any known magical patterns.
So we basically don't know anything about it. Interesting. Yep. We definitely want to investigate this thing. To avoid this sin in your games, I suggest that before your next session, you identify 3 elements in your current area that you'll intentionally leave mysterious. It can be ancient ruins, strange phenomena, cultural traditions. Pick things that don't need complete explanations. And then when players investigate mysteries, you use the partial answer plus new question formula. Instead of, it's a lich tower, try, the energy feels wrong, like it's drawing power from somewhere else entirely. And then you replace exposition with discovery. Don't tell them about the ancient war. Let them find a cracked helm with bite marks that don't match any known creature. But here's what's interesting about mystery. It only works if your players actually encounter it. So what happened here? There's like old sword bits everywhere. Yeah, this place has serious battle vibes. Ha! Yes. Well, the second deadly sin disguises itself as being well prepared. You've developed rich world history that you're eager to share. You want your players to understand the depths of your setting. But here's what actually happens.
That would be from the Shadow War.
It began 847 years ago, when the Dragon Empress Valthara's bloodline was contested by her half-brother, Malthorn, who had made a pact with the Void Lords of the 13th Circle. The theological implications were staggering, because the Church of the Sacred Flame had declared that... Cool. So where do we need to go exactly again? Information only becomes interesting when it's immediately connected to match what players can touch, investigate, or decide about right now. Abstract historical details feel like homework, not adventure. But watch what happens when we let them discover instead of lecture. What happened here? There's old weapon pieces everywhere.
Your guide points to a cracked stone marker. Shadow War battlefield,
he says grimly. You notice the metal fragments are strangely dark. Instead of a history lecture, we're giving them physical details they can investigate. The players aren't passive listeners anymore. They're active discoverers. And now, well, yeah, they want to know more. Dark metal, huh? Okay, that's weird. I want to examine these fragments, and I'm checking out that marker.
Metal feels cold, even in sunlight, like it's absorbing heat.
The marker is partially readable. Here fell the... The rest is hard to read, but you can piece together that it has something to do with betrayal and void-touched steel. Void-touched steel? That sounds dangerous.
Love it.
Yeah, what if this stuff is still cursed to something? Here's how to turn exposition into exploration in your own games. Before sharing any backstory, ask yourself, how does this connect to what players are doing right now? If you can't make that connection, save it for later. Then you replace abstract information with physical evidence. Like, for example, instead of describing political tensions, you show them graffiti arguing about tax policies. And then you use the breadcrumb method to give just enough information to create a question. Then let players choose whether to dig deeper. The marker mentions betrayal is more engaging than a complete timeline of who betrayed whom. Your detailed history isn't wasted, it's ammunition you deploy precisely when it has maximum impact. But sometimes, even when you time information perfectly, you run into our third deadly sin. You enter the frontier settlement, and the tavern keeper immediately approaches you.
Ha! Adventurers! Perfect timing. These are hard times. There's something I'd love to talk to you about.
The third deadly sin masquerades as efficient storytelling. You've populated your world with useful NPCs who advance your plot. Every character serves a specific story function, ensuring your campaign moves forward smoothly. But here's what players actually experience. This feels a lot like a video game.
Yeah. Was he just standing around waiting for us to show up?
No. Well, this creates the video game effect. Artificial interactions where players sense characters exist purely for their convenience. Real places have people pursuing their own goals, dealing with their own problems. You enter the tavern. Have a look around the place. You see a tall fellow who you quickly identify as the local blacksmith. He is arguing with his apprentice about metal quality. The tavern keeper is complaining to a patron about missing supply wagons. And you didn't notice them at first, but you also see a merchant in the corner, looking nervous, constantly checking the door. These NPCs aren't waiting for adventurers. They're dealing with their own problems. The players become curious observers rather than passive quest recipients. And now they can discover opportunities organically. I want to eavesdrop on the blacksmith's drama, and I am checking out why this merchant seems so paranoid. The blacksmith mentions his usual supplier hasn't shown up in weeks. As to the merchant, they jump when you approach and whisper, "Have you seen any bandits on the road? I'm supposed to leave tomorrow, but..." Wait, he said missing supplies? That could be connected to those bandits. Yeah, this merchant might have information we need. Here's how to make your NPCs feel alive instead of convenient. Before designing any important NPC, give them 3 personal goals that have nothing to do with the players. The blacksmith isn't just waiting to offer quests. He's worried about his supply chain, training his apprentice, and trying to expand his business. Then you start conversations with NPCs pursuing their own agendas. Instead of, "I have a job for you," try, "Can you believe the nerve of that supplier? 3 weeks late and no word." Let players discover the opportunity through natural conversation. And then you connect NPC problems to create a living ecosystem. The missing supply caravans affect multiple businesses. The nervous merchant heard rumors, the blacksmith supplier also heard. And when problems interconnect, your world feels real. But here's the thing. Even when your NPCs feel alive and your world seems real, there's still a way to make players feel like tourists in their own campaign. And that brings us to our 4th deadly sin. By the way, have you ever felt like no matter how good your world building is, players always find a way to derail everything you prepare? That's exactly why I created the Plot Engineering Blueprint. It's a short guide that helps you build more resilient stories. Kinda like your story survival kit, if you will. And you can download it for free by clicking the link in the description. You've now reached the heart of the Shadowlands. This region has been ruled by the Greymont family for 400 years. The local economy depends on darkwood logging, managed by the Timber Guild. The 4th deadly sin feels like being the ultimate creative DM. You've crafted an amazing setting with complete creative control. Every element fits together perfectly because you built it in isolation. But here's what's actually happening to your players. Cool. Okay, so, like, what's my ranger's connection to all this? Yeah, my character feels like a tourist here. Well, you're visitors to the region. Right. but this is all your stuff. We're just here. This creates the tourist effect. Players feel like museum visitors rather than world residents. Their characters lack meaningful ties because they had no voice in shaping the setting. But when players help create the world, something magical happens to their investment level.
You've reached the Shadowlands.
Now, Gabriel, you have a connection to these woods, right?
Oh yeah. So, as you know, I'm a ranger.
Oh, we know. And my family used to be guardians of an ancient grove here. Instead of presenting a completed world, we're using player input within our framework. The player immediately becomes invested because they're helping create their character's home. Perfect. And you care to remind us what brought your character to these lands originally? My grandfather was a famous woodsman here. He left me a cabin? Somewhere? Yes. Not far from here, actually. A couple of miles to the east. So, you're not just visiting. In a sense, it feels like you're coming home in a weird, twisted kind of way.
Dude, I'm warning you. Nobody's touching this place.
Yeah. Shadowlands, baby. Here's how to transform tourists into residents. During character creation, ask each player for one specific contribution to the world. Don't say, create whatever you want, because that's overwhelming. Try, tell me about your cleric's temple. Or, what's unique about your hometown? Bounded creativity maintains your vision while including their voice. Then you leave deliberate gaps in your world building that players can fill. Instead of designing every guild, let the rogues player describe how thieves operate in their home city. Instead of detailing every religious tradition, ask the cleric what ceremonies their character grew up with. And then you build on player contributions during gameplay. That sacred grove the ranger mentioned, it becomes central to a future adventure. The grandfather's cabin, it holds clues to a larger mystery. When you use their ideas, players feel genuine ownership. But here's where many DMs get nervous. What happens when players want to explore the things they helped create, but you haven't fully developed them yet?
So,
yeah, that tower, man.
Yeah,
we definitely want to explore it.
Yeah, that sounds way more interesting than the main road.
The fifth deadly sin appears to be good prep. You've designed every location to serve the story perfectly, ensuring efficient progression through the narrative. But when players start exploring, didn't you want to go to the village first to meet the mayor?
But the tower, though, can we go check it out?
There's nothing there, actually. It's just scenery.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
What? You made it sound so important.
Yeah.
But the adventures of the village? Please go to the village? This reveals single-purpose design limitations. When players want to explore somewhere wrong, you panic because you've only prepared one path forward. Your world becomes a beautiful railroad with illusory choice. But what if I told you locations could actually serve multiple purposes?
Okay, so we want to explore that mysterious tower.
Perfect.
As you approach, you notice several things. Old campfires suggest someone's been staying here recently, and strange animal tracks circled the base.
Instead of panic, we're now ready with multiple story hooks. The same location can support different types of adventures depending on what the players choose to investigate. And this opens up possibilities.
And you hear faint chanting from within.
Oh, are there people living there? Or maybe some weird ritual happening? So, what approach do you think?
How about we go stealth to investigate the chanting?
Or, hear me out, follow the tracks to see what animals have been here. Or, check out the campfires.
Damn rangers, they're animals camping.
Here's how I like to build locations that work no matter which direction players choose. For each major location, brainstorm 3 different types of conflicts that could happen there. That forest isn't just bandit encounter. It could be bandits, or refugees hiding from war, or poachers hunting magical creatures, or territorial spirits. Same location, multiple possibilities. And then you think in layers, not linear paths. Instead of this leads to that, ask what groups are active here and what are they trying to accomplish. And when players arrive, you emphasize whichever layer serves the current story. And finally, use the yes and principle. When players want to explore somewhere unexpected, say yes, and here's what you discovered. Then you pull from your locations multiple possibilities. Your preparation becomes ammunition, not restraint. But even when you've mastered flexible location, there's still a way to make all that player choice feel meaningless. Wait, didn't we totally burn down the tavern here last time? Yeah. There was this huge magical fire and everything was destroyed. The sixth deadly sin masquerades as being a forgiving, player-friendly DM. You want to keep campaigns moving smoothly, so you don't bog down new adventurers with complications from past sessions. But here's what this approach actually teaches your players. Oh, right. Okay, well, let's just say they rebuild it very fast. Anyway, you enter the perfectly normal tavern.
But we literally burned the whole place down with a magical fire.
Look, let's just move on with the current story, okay? So, nothing we do actually matters. When nothing players do creates lasting change, they stop caring about decisions. Why worry about consequences if the world resets between sessions? This teaches the most destructive lesson possible. Their choices are meaningless. And it's a shame because when actions have real weight... So, we're back in town, where we burned down the tavern. The town square now has a large tent, serving as the temporary tavern. People recognize you immediately. Some nod gratefully. Others look worried. Here, we're showing logical consequences. The players immediately feel that their past actions mattered, and now these consequences become new story opportunities. You overhear someone say, the supply shortages are getting worse since the main meeting place burned down. A merchant approaches. You're the ones who uncovered the conspiracy. I need to speak with you about the supply chain disruptions. Huh, look, we're famous. Yes, and we created new problems, apparently. Here's how to make player choices matter in your own campaigns. First, I suggest you keep a consequence journal. After each session, you write down 3 major player decisions and their logical implications. That merchant caravan they failed to protect, their goods don't reach the destination. The corrupt official they exposed, well, his allies remember. And then you delay consequences by 3 to 5 sessions. This helps making it feel organic rather than immediate karma. When players encounter the results later, they get that powerful, oh wait, this is because of what we did moment that makes campaigns feel interconnected. And finally, you turn consequences into opportunities, not just punishments. The burned tavern creates supply problems, but also opens up new meeting spaces, changes social dynamics, and gives players a reputation. Consequences should make the world more interesting, not less. But even when you nail consequences, mysteries, living NPCs, and player agency, there is still one sin that can destroy everything we've built, and is the most insidious on the list. Now, the political situation is quite complex. The Shadowlands are controlled by 3 competing houses, each with sub-factions. House Greymont has the traditionalist wing and the expansionist wing, but they're split on the timber rights issue. The 7th and deadliest sin feels like being the most dedicated, creative DM possible. You pour countless hours into intricate details and sophisticated systems. You're passionate about world building, active in communities, constantly refining your craft. But complete failure is right around the corner. Because of the ancient Forest Keeper Accords that were signed during the Second Age, which conflicts with the modern mercantile statutes that were... This is getting very complicated. Yeah, I'm totally lost. Can we just fight some bandits or something? No. Guys, you need to understand the political nuances. This is sophisticated storytelling. Dude, this feels like homework. You just don't appreciate good world building. Don't forget to send us a copy of your book when it comes out. What did you say to me? There it is. The ego reveal. When players don't engage with your complex creation, you blame them instead of questioning whether it serves their fun. This can destroy friendships and kill campaigns permanently. It happens when you're designing for the DM community approval rather than your specific table's enjoyment. And it's a shame, because when you focus on what players actually care about, this happens. So there's tension in town. The lumber baron wants to cut down the old grove, but the locals say it's sacred. Both sides or hiring muscle. Same underlying conflict, completely different presentation. Instead of overwhelming political complexity, we have a simple choice with clear stakes. The players can immediately understand what's happening and what their options are.
Oh, so we could help either side.
Yeah. Do we protect the trees or help the business? That's actually a tough choice.
No, it isn't. Rangers.
Yeah, your character probably has strong feelings about ancient crows.
Oh, yeah.
And my guy could use the gold, but sacred trees. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, trees are cool, man.
Hell yeah.
So, what do you want to do? Here's the truth about world building that can save your campaigns. First, your job isn't to create art. It's to create fun. Before adding any element to your world, ask, does this make the game more fun for my specific players? If the answer is no, consider cutting it, regardless of how proud you are of the idea. Second, complexity doesn't equal quality. The most sophisticated political system in the world is worthless if it bores your group. Simple conflicts can be just as meaningful as complex ones when they connect to what your players care about. And finally, you should measure success by player engagement, not world building sophistication. When your players are excited, asking questions, and making difficult choices, you're succeeding. When they're confused, checking their phones, or asking to, just fight something, your beautiful world is failing its most important test. The best world building is invisible. Players should feel immersed in a rich setting without being conscious of the craft required to create it. Your creativity should amplify what your players already enjoy, not educate them about what they should enjoy. Ego-driven world building kills campaigns because it puts your creative needs above everyone else's fun. And that's the deadliest sin of all. But here's what's crazy about world building. You can avoid all these deadly sins, craft the perfect world with mysterious elements and living NPCs, and still kill your campaign in the first 5 minutes. Because there's something more dangerous than bad world building: how you introduce players to that world. Even perfect settings become worthless if your opening makes players check out immediately. What if the most popular campaign openings are actually killing campaigns before they start? Click on this video next to discover 7 terrible ways to start a D&D campaign and how strategic adjustments can transform any beginning into something players talk about for years.